My name is Chris with Headlight Revolution, and today I've got a Jeep Grand Cherokee in the shop behind me. I'm going to show you guys everything you need to know when it comes to upgrading the headlights and fog lights on this vehicle. For the majority of the install, you're going to be working in pretty tight quarters. On the passenger side, it was helpful for me to remove this computer. It's only 3 bolts. I just slid it to the side. If your hands are smaller, you might be able to reach back there and get the dust cover off for the headlight. If so, cool. If not, 3 bolts, they're 8mm head. That thing moves right out of the way. You could also try unplugging it. It's absolutely up to you. On the driver's side, there's an air box in the way, and you're going to want to remove that. With these 2 things removed or loosened, you can reach behind the headlight and access everything pretty well. I apologize in advance. We did our best to get a good shot of behind this headlight, but if you're doing this job, you'll understand the problem that we had. It's really deep in there. It's kind of hard to see, even with your own eyes, let alone a camera. So, with that being said, let's get started. The first thing you need to do is reach in, and you'll feel this cap. I'm going to pop it out so you can see it. It looks like this. And we're going to end up drilling a hole in this so that we can pass our HID wiring through it. We're using a step bit for this. You could use a hole saw. You're going to about 7/8 of an inch to 1 inch. Anywhere in that range, and the grommet will fit really nice. Alright, we've got our hole. Now, we're going to be installing GTR lighting products specifically for this vehicle. They work the best on these Mopar vehicles like Jeep, Ram, even Chrysler. They all use very similar electronics, and if you don't use the right kit, you're going to get flickering, strobing, bulb out warning, stuff like that, and you don't want any of that. So, using GTR Lighting's new Generation 5 Smart PWM ballasts, you can avoid all those issues and just do it right from the beginning. Now, on a tricky install like this, last thing you want to do is have to redo it. So we're over on the bench now, and you can see we've got our hole drilled in our dust cover. We're going to go ahead and deep-pin this connector so that we can pass it through the dust cover, remove the plastic retainer on the back, and using a pick tool of some form, reach in here, and if you pry on the inside of these pins and give them a little bit of rearward tension, they'll pop right out. Now, go ahead and feed them through the dust cover, like so, and install your grommet. Make sure it's a nice and tight fit. It should be a tight fit. You should be using a 7/8 to a 1 inch either hole saw or step bit. Now, be careful with your HID bulb while you're doing this. Ideally, you should leave the protective cover on it while you're working with it. One more thing you want to do is just bend the pins out like I'm showing you here so that they make a good contact inside that connector again. Now, make sure your red wire goes to the right of your connector on the top. So if you're looking at it from the top, red goes on the right. Put your retainer back on the back. As you can see, we're ready to go. Now, this connector on the inside of the dust cover is going to go to your original bulb power wire. So, the thing you just connected from your original factory bulb plugs in right here. This installs just like the factory bulb did. There's no guesswork there. And then these connectors, this one goes to your ballast, and these 2 go to your ballast. That's all there is to it. So, once again, I apologize for the tough footage. It's not the greatest that we've ever done by any means, but we're trying to get it done for you guys so you can see kind of what's involved with the process. Once you get into this thing and get tearing it apart yourself, you'll see what's going on. Finally, you can go ahead and insert this thing. And, you know, it's a ways in there. It's really funny that they did it this way, in my opinion. The worst part is there is an access panel in the wheel well on this vehicle to change the bulb, apparently. However, we tried it that way first, and I couldn't even get the cap off from the wheel well, the dust cover. Both wires in the connector that went to the original bulb are black. Normally you can kind of get a hint as to what's positive, what's negative. One will be a lighter color, one won't be. In this case, they're both black. You have no idea. Plug it in, give it a shot. If it doesn't work, unplug it, flip it around, plug it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and take this plug here and connect it to this connector coming off of the ballast, like so, and plug in these little amp connectors here, like so. That's how it plugs in, and really that's all there is to it. So before you get too far ahead of yourself, now would be an excellent time to just test it and make sure it works. The last thing you want to do is put all this together and discover that one bulb is plugged in the wrong way. So once you've made sure that your connector is plugged in the right way and that the headlight is working, go ahead and install the dust cover. Turn it clockwise to install it, counterclockwise to remove it, clockwise to install it, just like the bulbs. Now the last thing we have to do on this vehicle is a turn signal, and I saved the best for last for that. We've got a really cool switchback bulb from GTR Lighting. And what the switchback part means is when you hit your turn signal, it goes from a bright white light to a flashing amber. And when you turn your turn signal off, it goes back to a bright white. The cool part about that is the entire front of your vehicle is going to be bright, crisp, white light, no more amber until you're turning. Go ahead and pull the bulb, set it off to the side. These are the Carbide series bulbs from GTR Lighting. It is their Carbide switchback, and I already told you a little bit about it. This is what it looks like. Quite a big difference in style from what you had in there before. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we need to wire in a resistor. The reason you do a resistor on these vehicles, on any vehicle, is to keep the turn signal blinking properly. If you just install an LED bulb, you're going to have a fast blink, and fast blink is the same as like when you get a burned out bulb, hit your turn signal, it goes really rapidly and it's really annoying. Most people don't want that. With a resistor kit from GTR Lighting, you can avoid that completely. This is what the resistor kit looks like. Inside it, they include everything you need to get your turn signals working the right way. What I normally like to do is mount the resistor first. That way I know exactly how much wire length I have to deal with. Now, where I put this resistor is important because it's attached to metal and you need that to dissipate heat. But be careful, there's a wiring harness behind that metal. You don't want to hit it, so reach back there and just make sure that you're going to miss it with your screw. There's plenty of room back there. We have the turn signal plug, and basically all you need to do with your resistor, you've got two wires coming off of it. Take one wire and attach it to one of the outermost pins. Take the other wire and attach it to the other outermost pin. In this case, let me flip it so you can see it a little bit better. In this case, we've got a white with a brown stripe, and we've got a black wire. These two outside pins are your turn signals. This is your turn signal positive, and the black wire is your ground. If you connect it like this, your turn signal will operate properly. So you can either use the provided T-taps in the kit, or you can solder it. We're going to solder it. Go ahead and install that. Clicks in real nice. And if this doesn't power on for whatever reason, pop the bulb out, flip it around 180 degrees and reinsert it. They are polarity specific. It's a little bit of a reach to get it back where it belongs. There we go. That's a cool style upgrade. All right, guys. We've got the vehicle up in the air. I'm going to show you guys how to do the fog lights. It's really straightforward. You're going to need a 10mm socket. There's one bolt you have to remove, and then you're just going to push the wheel liner to the side. You can reach up there. You've got all the room in the world to work. And we're going to be mounting 35-watt GTR Lighting HID ballasts and 4300K bulbs in this particular Jeep today. Once again, you're going by feel here. If you look at the front of the bumper while you're reaching up there, it's easy to pinpoint where the fog light is. Grab the bulb and twist it counterclockwise to remove it, and release the two tabs, one on each side of the bulb. There's one tab here and one tab here, holding it on. If you just pry those away, you can yank the bulb right out of the wiring connector. So we're running 35 watt because this fog light's a little bit on the small side and I'd hate to melt it. 55 watt, that is kind of a concern on smaller lights. Now, this is the same install as the low beam. Really nothing's changed. It's even the same bulb. So just go ahead and plug your HID harness connector into the factory wiring like so. This end's going to go to your ballast, and so are these two guys here. Before I get that far, I'm going to reach the bulb up there and install it just so it's not hanging out. You don't want these bulbs to get dirty if you can help it. So once again, using the front of the bumper as a reference point to see where the fog light is, you can reach up there, insert the bulb just like the old one came out. Took a few tries, but it should click right into place just like the old bulb. Now, take your ballast, go ahead and plug these together like so. They should snap together real nice. Like I said earlier, everything hooks up just like it did on the low beam install. Now, after testing everything and making sure everything powers on just fine and everything's set up the way you like it, you can go ahead and zip tie your wiring up. button up the vehicle, and you're all done. So on the wall, we had a light output reading of 470 lux. Now that's your usable light output, and that's a little on the low side. Anybody with one of these Jeeps is going to know that these headlights are not that great. Thankfully, with the GTR lighting HID kit in the low beam and the GTR lighting HID kit in the fog lights, you absolutely will not believe the difference of light on the wall here. So this is not altered in any way. This is pulling the Jeep out and pulling it back in with the right stuff. Look at the fog lights, man. The fog lights are where it's at. Those things are like another set of headlights down there now. Unbelievable difference. Well worth every penny. This one came out at $1150 for lux. So stock was $470, and now we're at $1150. That's a big upgrade. As you can see, it's much whiter and it looks like a brand new Jeep. As you can see, once you get that low beam done, it goes pretty well after that. Low beam's a little challenging, but you know, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. You can call us, email us, do a live chat on our website, whatever you want. Our website's www.headlightrevolution.com. On that same website, you can find taillights, reverse lights, and interior lights for this very same Jeep. Thank you for watching.